week's worth of eye candy since we didn't do that last week, leading us to Speedway motorcycle racing, of course. It's a bit like soccer, hugely popular around the world. In this country, not so much. Last week, we recorded a conversation which did not air under the circumstances with America's newly crowned World Speedway champion, Greg Hancock. He was driving toward Poland, where his team had an important league race on Sunday. Say what? Team, league. Sure enough, in Europe, Speedway leagues featuring 7-rider teams are major league sports. Much like motocross, Speedway imported to America in the 1960s. Unlike motocross, it never gained a national foothold, although the American bastion of the sport, Costa Mesa Speedway in Southern California, has just completed its 43rd season. But thanks to this guy, America shines brightly in the World Speedway spotlight. Costa Mesa graduate Greg Hancock has won the World Championship. Even more remarkable, he claimed the sport's most prestigious crown 14 years after he wore it for the first time. The 41-year-old Californian won 4 of 11 rounds, clinched the title 2 weeks ago, but he's still in Europe, racing for his team. No, wait, make that teams. We'll get the explanation of how that works in tonight's last call. Hi, Greg. Welcome to the TV show here. Congratulations on another World Championship. You know, in most series, that would mean that your season was over and you could go celebrate, but here you are, still hard at it this weekend, racing in Hungary and then in Poland. Explain to our audience how that works.
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Dave. It's been a great year. The league racing is much like we know it in the U.S. for baseball, football, hockey, basketball. You know, it's team events, and I'm contracted to a team in Sweden, where I have myself based in Europe, and also I'm contracted to a team in Poland, where I ride once a week in each country, and basically I'm contracted to compete for the club and paid for my performance on the night, and there's 7 riders in each team that compete against the opposing team throughout the year. So we have a full program that runs about 22 events in Poland throughout the year. You have about 18 qualifying tournaments, and you end up in semifinals and finals. And it works virtually exactly the same in Sweden too. So the unique thing about Speedway is you're actually allowed to be contracted to 2 different teams, 2 different clubs in 2 different countries, where one day your teammates become your competitors the following day when you're racing in another country.
That is, I believe, unique in the world of motorsports, as is the Speedway race format. You have a series of 4-man, 4-lap races that are organized so that each rider faces every opponent at least once, and there are points for each of those races. And the stars of Speedway are national heroes. What is the celebrity lifestyle like over there? Are you able to go out for dinner without being mobbed, for example?
You get pretty well recognized in many places around Europe. In the eastern countries, especially in Poland, it's the #1 sport in Poland, and you clearly can't go anywhere without being spotted. And you're not always mobbed, but you have the occasions, you know, depending on the city you're in, where Speedway might be a little more popular. Then they tend to give you a little bit of a good seeing to. But in Sweden, it's also really a household name. I think it's the #3 sport in Sweden, and the people are very receptive to the sport, and you'll get noticed in various towns throughout the country. And the big cities like Stockholm and Gothenburg, you won't get picked out as quite as much as the smaller towns, but it's still a really popular and exciting sport.
So after all these years in that sport, how have you maintained the motivation it takes to win the World Championship 14 years after you won your first one? That doesn't happen very often.
I don't know. I grew up around the sport of Speedway from Costa Mesa, California, where my dad took us to the Orange County Fairgrounds as kids, you know, and pretty much I've got, you know, dirt and sliding the bike in my blood. So it's just one of those things that to do anything in the sport, you have to go to Europe. And I pretty much left home when I was 18 years old and set up a life outside of Costa Mesa and based in the UK for like 14 years, and eventually met my wife and moved my base to Sweden and have never looked back. But it's about a year ago I really kind of got to a point where I felt like I was just a number in the game, you know, and I didn't want to just be making up the numbers. I wanted to be the champ again, and I found the fun of the game again, and really found the speed, and just started looking upwards, and realized how hungry I was to be the world champion again.
I tell you, Greg, it's a heck of a story, a heck of an accomplishment. We congratulate you. We wish you continued success, not only through the remainder of the league racing season this year, but also as you go after that world championship again in 2012.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dave. I really appreciate it. Great to talk to you guys, too.
And having magically changed from my blue to my black shirt, again, that was taped last week, I'm feeling so pumped up about I may do this show for another 10 years. I thought, you know, I'll be like Greg Hancock, be eternal, immortal, or maybe Herschel McGriff. I have a Herschel McGriff story from off the chat that I'll tell you on Wind Tunnel Extra, which is going to crank